Morgs, obviously you're a busy man with a raft of injuries looking within the squad, but if we go through one at a time, where are we with them and how they're doing, starting with Big Nathan?
Yeah, so Nathan, unfortunately, when I came into the club, he was returning from a injury. Really, he'd done most of his rehab, and obviously he played the first 3 or 4 games. Now, I wasn't too happy with the way his knee was reacting during those games and during training, really. So we got back in touch with a specialist who carried out the previous operation, and unfortunately he needed another operation to sort of correct those underlying issues. Now, it's going to be a slow process for Nathan. To give a time scale wouldn't be correct at this time of the injury, really. So we need to sort of take it very slowly, and it's all gauged around Nathan and how his knee reacts during that sort of rehab process.
So that's down to a case of monitoring the situation.
It is, yeah, and as I say, it is very slow. He's doing very mundane exercises, very basic exercises at the moment, and we've just got to ensure that knee doesn't react. Anytime the knee does react, we've got to sort of take it back a stage. So it is a slow process for him. So at this time of the rehab, we couldn't give a sort of a definitive answer in terms of when he will be back playing. It wouldn't be good for Nathan, really, to sort of set a long-term goal like that. It's all very short-term goals at the moment, getting mobility back into the knee, getting strength back into the knee, and then we'll see where it takes us. 2
players that are back playing, Dalimir and Neil Downs, both injuries in games. Is this now a case of monitoring them?
Yeah, so whenever players return from an injury, it doesn't mean to say they're 100% fit. They're still doing the rehab. We get them back involved in training as best as we can, and we also do modified training. We try and get them to do all their exercises, strengthening exercises, outside of the training programme they're doing with the first team. So it's a case of monitoring them and seeing how they react on a daily basis, and also after games.
Is that the same with Kelvin? Was his hamstring?
Kelvin he had a bad injury where it was it was a strange injury, really, one I haven't seen before. He actually degloved the head of his fibula, which just means to say that he's took the outer layer of the bone away off that surface of the fibula head. Now, it's a strange injury, and he was out for 6, 7, 8 weeks with it. So really, we're sort of getting him back into sort of full training now. He will have times where we've sort of got to offload him slightly, and that's where he's at, really. Again, we're sort of monitoring him on a daily basis, and we'll see how his body's reacting after games and after training.
Now, we talk about injuries in games, and a big injury in a game was Tom Pope. I don't think I've ever seen a punctured lung in a game.
No, I mean, when he did it, he was struggling to breathe. Now, that was something I was concerned about, and I obviously took him off the pitch. We had their club doctor that got him. Initially, they thought it was a soft tissue injury. At half time, when we reassessed him, he was still struggling to breathe, which was a massive concern. And obviously, we got him sent straight to the hospital in Peterborough, and they diagnosed him with 3 fractured ribs and a punctured lung. So again, with Popey, it's going to be a long process. He's 3 weeks into the injury now, I think. A good goal setting in terms of getting him back is probably within the next sort of 4 to 5 weeks, depending how he reacts. So we've got to sort of progress his exercise tolerance over the next couple of weeks, and then just see where he is after that.
With a punctured lung, I presume there's not a lot he can do.
No, I mean, he's doing at the moment sort of deep breathing exercises to help expand his lungs, and then, as I say, we're going to just gradually increase that tolerance in terms of fitness and cardiovascular fitness. So it is a slow process. It's frustrating for the club, it's frustrating for Tom, but hopefully, as I say, we'll get him back within the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks, which will be a massive asset to the club.
Barnett, injured in the Shrewsbury game, came back for the Bolton game. Was that a little too soon?
Possibly, but in an ideal world, we probably would have liked him to get a few reserve games under his belt and build up his minutes. But obviously, we didn't have that. So he came back. He wanted to play. He got through the game without any new added problems or any injuries, basically. But unfortunately, he's probably still a couple of weeks away from being back to sort of what you'd sort of say 100% fit. And even when we get him back in the next sort of couple of weeks, it's still a case of monitoring him and trying to get him through that sort of the next 4 to 5, 6 week period in terms of building up his fitness to what he was at previously, really. So he hasn't gone back a step. It's just that we're sort of monitoring him and making sure that he's ready to sort of play when he feels right.
Craig Jones, the gaffer called it a committed tackle at the time.
It was, and I think that's the way Jonesy plays. You know, he's always on the front foot. He likes to tackle. Now he went into the tackle. I don't think it was the tackle that actually did it. I think he's actually tried to push up off the floor from sitting position. So he's in a sort of bad position to try and push a lot of force through that thigh, and then unfortunately he's ruptured his thigh. So that again was a bad injury. It's a long injury. I believe he's 3-4 weeks into that injury, and he's probably still about another 4 weeks away from sort of returning. And again, we've just got to monitor that on a weekly basis and see how he reacts over the next few weeks.
That was one of those that he knew straight away.
Yeah, and from watching it, you could tell, you know, when he's pushed up, and he knew straight away, and he heard a pop basically, which is sort of a sign that the sort of the fibres have sort of ruptured basically, which obviously we had him scanned and that sort of proved correct. He had a big tear there, so as I say, he's doing well with his rehab. He's coming on well, and he's still, as I say, roughly about 4 weeks away.
Keane Bryan, bad injury during a behind closed doors game apparently.
Yeah, we're trying to get his fitness. Obviously, he got suspended, so we're trying to maintain his fitness levels. And unfortunately, he's went to play a pass and felt a pain in his thigh. We've had that scan that's showing that he's got a significant rupture again of the thigh. So he's going to be out for a considerable period of time. We're sort of liaising with Man City at the moment, and they're sort of taking control of his rehab.
Ishmael Miller and Craig Brown, is this down to a lack of pre-season and a lack of match fitness?
Yeah, in an ideal world you want people to have a good pre-season under the belts, and it's obviously proven that if you don't have a good pre-season under your belt, you will have sort of injuries. Now Ishmael's come in and Brownie's come in without those pre-season under the belt. Now it's our aim and my job to try and get them up to sort of match fitness. Now it is a slow process. I know people want them to sort of, they're probably questioning why they're not playing at the moment, but we need to make sure they're up to a good standard before we sort of put them out on the pitch.
Tom Sowers, the latest one from Saturday at Northampton, how bad's Tom?
Well, he felt a slight sort of sharp pain in his soleus, which is basically his calf muscle. So for precaution reasons, we obviously took him off. He's going for a scan today. We'll find more detail about what's actually going on with that calf over the next sort of 24 hours, and once we find that out, we'll sort of have a better idea on how long he's going to be out for.
Most of these injuries are all game-related injuries. What happened in game? There's only one, Chris Brown, on the training ground. You can't wrap these players in cotton wool. They're going to make these challenges.
Yeah, and listen, I was a footballer myself, and it's what you look forward to in a Saturday, going out and making committed challenges. Now unfortunately we've sort of accumulated all these injuries over the last sort of couple of months. Usually it happens over the course of the season, but I do think things will sort of peter out. I do think that we've sort of had our bit of bad luck, and moving ahead I can't see any reason why these injuries are going to continue basically. So it's a matter of sort of dealing with it, which we are doing, getting them back as fit as we can, as soon as we can, but ensuring that they're up to a good standard before they return to play. And then it gives us all something to look forward to, because at the moment we have been sort of, it's as though we've run over a black cat at the moment, so it can't keep going on. I'm sure that we're over the worst of it. So we've got the rest of the season, we've got 30 odd games to look forward to have these players back. I'm
sure you can't do it, the manager wouldn't want them to not make them committed challenges.
No, you have to, you know, that's what football's about, and from the short time of being here at Bury, that's the way the team's set up to play. I'm sure it's what the fans want to see. I don't think the fans want players to be ducking out of tackles. So it's the way the club is, and it's the way the club's going to be successful and move forward with. So we can't ask players not to do it. And as I say, I think we are over the worst of it. We need to get the players back as soon as we can, which we're working on. And I'm sure once they are back playing, I can't see us having another sort of period in which we're going to sustain that amount of injuries.